Oh, you want more Justice Gamers? Okay, well, after that Let's Play video and with the upcoming Batman vs. Superman movie, or Batman v Superman as the title would call it, insert Wonder Woman, like most people would call it, because if you saw the trailer, yet she's obviously being inserted in there, but no, I'm not taking sides on this one, but might as well do 2 top 5 lists. The best video games of each character. But I'm gonna start out with Superman, because sadly, not that Superman's a bad hero or anything. I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he has the word super right in his name. But when it comes to video games, apparently he's been crapped on over the years. Yep, from the NES, or I should say Atari days, all the way till today even. He hasn't had one good video game that was actually great compared to Batman. But let's not jump the gun. Let's get to, sadly, the worst first. Obviously, I want to get the worst out of the way. Worst, top 5, count them, worst Superman games ever. Number 5, Superman Returns, based off the 2006 movie, which most people did not like, and I can respect that. But that doesn't necessarily mean the games have to be bad, right? Well, life isn't always fair. And depending on what version you played, whether it's the one on the DS, which I didn't even bother with, I played the one on 360, and just like the movie, it's pretty boring and bland. Not much to say. The last boss, on the other hand, out of all things, is a freaking tornado. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just as boring as you think. Not the worst, but hey, it was bad enough to make this list, that's for sure, so just avoid this one by all means. His return was not necessary, especially not for this game, based off a rather mediocre movie. Number 4, Superman the Man of Steel. Now, of course, this is only, and I mean only, on the original Xbox. Obviously, you can't call it Xbox One, since, well, that's the newer console, not to get too carried away with confusion, but yep. This game is made of anything but steel. I mean, it has confusing and awkward controls, boring repetitive missions. Do I have to say much more about this game? I know I'm going to sound like a broken record on this, but believe me, this thing is anything but super. Trust me. Number 3, Superman by Sunsoft on Sega Genesis. Yeah, Sunsoft, the same company that gave us awesome games like, of course, the Batman games. You know, the one on NES. And, of course, Gremlins 2 and so forth. Well, sadly, they couldn't save this superhero from suckage, especially on this one. And yes, there were a lot of complaints about the generic-looking boss fights, you know, enemies and so forth, and the fact that this game actually glitches. Yeah, it's actually broken. So, yep, sadly, they couldn't keep this one super. I mean, what a joke, Sunsoft. You couldn't save this one? Really? What are you gonna do? Number 2, Superman on NES. Yes, there also obviously is a Super Nintendo game, but this one, yeah, it deserves to be crapped on because, well, it's boring. Superman is so small compared to all the other people, the graphics make no sense, and the gameplay and the music, it's so awfully irritating. And let's not forget, stocks, yeah, doing the stock market in a Superman game, I don't have to say much more. Just watch the AVGN's review on this one. He'll pretty much give every detail and nitpick about how crappy this one is. But trust me, it's, once again, anything but super. And the number 1 worst Superman video game ever made? You probably saw this one coming. Probably not only the worst Superman video game ever made, but probably the worst video game ever made, period. Superman 64. Those dreaded words. Yep, this one is the cream of the crop of worst video games ever made. I mean, it is just bad. Believe me, people. It looks awful. It plays awful. It just... God! I mean, I don't have to say much more. Once again, just watch the AVGN's review, or pretty much anybody's review on this piece of crap. They can spend hours nitpicking the hell out of this game of how super god-awful it is. I mean, it's an injustice to the video game industry. It doesn't even deserve any justice. It's just so broken. I mean, even the cover of it just looks awful. I mean, God, how do they make something this bad is just beyond me. And this pretty much set the tone for Superman video games of how they're all cursed. I mean, Sunsoft couldn't save it. I suggest they just give this to, like, Rocksteady, the same company that did the Batman Arkham games. Maybe they can do it some justice, but overall, don't let this damper your expectations on the new movie. Stay away from these games, that's all I can suggest. Just my opinion, people. Don't take it too seriously, but I'm sure most people can agree on the #1 spot at least. But until next time, happy gaming.